I am starting a new project here. To start a new project, just do this Meteor create and then give the name of the project. What I'm doing here is I am giving the sample app as the name of my project. So Meteor create sample app. It will create a sample application for you, which you can customize based upon your needs. So it will take some time to do that. Okay, and you can see the next steps. To run your application, cd, go to that application and start Meteor. Okay, so cd, whatever the name you have given. I'm just saying Meteor. I'm running the Meteor application. Give the command Meteor, and it will build it. Okay, so what it says is it built the application and it start running at localhost 3000 port. That is the default port. So what we can do is open another browser instance and go to localhost 3000 application, and you should see your sample application, which is like welcome to Meteor, and it says click me. If you click, it will say how many number of times you have clicked it. Let's start another browser instance and browse to the same location. You can click me. So you can do it multiple times. You can do it as many times, as many instances as you want. And in production, this will go into a public IP address where anybody can access it. Now, the advantage with Meteor is, right now these two instances are different, right? For example, if I click here, this is different. It says you clicked 10 times, and this one is different. It says you clicked 7 times. Now the advantage with the Meteor is you can do real-time collaborative applications. For example, we can tie these instances, all instances together, so that whenever anybody clicks on anything, the count increases globally. Which means no matter where anybody is accessing your application, Meteor application, from the browser, they can be anywhere across the world, but they all see the same content in real time getting updated based upon all other actions, right? So that's a very powerful concept. Yeah, I'm using Visual Studio, but it doesn't matter. So you can use Notepad or anything, but I feel at home with Visual Studio, so I'm just using it. If you want, you can even download Visual Studio for free. They have Express community versions now. So yeah, here is the sample app. Okay, open. Okay, so this is the application that is generated, right? When I said Meteor create, this is the application that was generated. Now you can see sample.cs. It generated 3 files: sample.css, sample application.html, sample app.js. Okay, so the JS is the backend. The JavaScript is the backend. Like it is the driver, that is the code. Whereas HTML is the front end. It is static always. HTML is like almost static. You can't change it on the fly. But with Meteor, it is you can change it on the fly based upon your code. For example, this is what you are going to see on the screen on your browser. It says every HTML file comes with these parts. Like one is the head and another is the body, right? This is standard HTML, head and body. This template is new for Meteor. This is Meteor specific templates. Meteor has this concept of templates where you can define your custom HTML as a template and customize it based upon your code, backend JavaScript code. In this case, if you see these curly braces, they indicate that it is being driven by the backend Java code, backend JavaScript code actually. So this is JavaScript code. Okay, we'll come back to the JavaScript code later, but first let's analyze this. Welcome to Meteor. Okay, so let me put it side by side with my that browser there. Welcome to Meteor, right? So welcome to Meteor, or let's say I do this and I save this. Okay, I just saved it now, and it automatically updated on both windows. And if you open another window, it will automatically update. If you open it from, let's say, your mobile, it will automatically update. So that is the advantage. So it is these things are like real-time development. So whenever you make any changes here and save it, it automatically considers those changes, and you see that worlds, right? So this is h1, which means header tag. That is the h1 tag, header tag here, and then followed by next is a hello, but which is inside a curly braces with this arrow. Curly braces with arrow means it's a template. So what I should be looking for is a template. Where is the template? That is the template here. That is the name of the template here. Template name hello. So what we are saying is there is a HTML body with a header and a template named hello. What does the template contain? It contains two things. One is a button and another is a paragraph. So button is click me, right? I can change it if I want to click here and save it. You can see it's changing in real time. Click here, right? So, and there is this counter. You have pressed button counter times, where in the final execution you can see that you have pressed button 10 times. 10 here is the counter. If I click once more, it's 11 times, because it's the counter that keeps incrementing by JavaScript, right? But where is this counter getting computed? That is computed in the backend, which is the JavaScript file, JS file. So this is the JS file. Okay. In the JS file, this JavaScript file is common for both server and client. Server is the server backend. In this case, this is the server. I am running it here, right? This whole thing as a process, it is running here. But in the production, you will have this server inside some web server, website, some hosted site, like a HostGator or like a Heroku or AWS, Amazon Web Services or Windows Azure. This server will be running there. Okay. And clients will only see the front end. Now you can, in the JavaScript file, typically you can say where you want to execute it. So if it is a client, execute this. Whereas if it is server, execute this. If server, how to detect it is using this meteor.isServer, right? So that is the server part, client part. Now let's get back to our business. We were concerned about counter. How is it getting incremented counter? So here our template name is hello, right? So for each template, it will have certain events which are related to the elements inside it. What are the elements inside this template? Right now, button is the element, and P another element, P the paragraph. Button has click events. So what I want to do is, whenever this button is clicked, I want to increment the count, right? So I come back here to the JavaScript and I say click event on which element? Button element. Click button. If that is the event, then execute this function. What is this function? Execute this counter, session counter +1, incrementing the counter. So what is happening here is, they are maintaining, this sample application is maintaining a session which is per client session, which means every client has its own counter. Client here is nothing but a browser. Every browser instance has its own counter, and that counter is getting initialized in the initial startup. Here, if Meteor client, they are setting it to the 0. Okay, session dot set default counter 0, and they have this counter helper which is getting accessed by this counter. So this variable, it is getting read from this counter, session dot get counter. Now what I want to do is, I don't want each one having its own counter, but I want to have let's say a global counter. What I can do is counter clicks. Okay, so I'm going to follow a simple thing. So let's do this then. Click button. Whenever I click a button, I will say insert I'm going to insert an object. Okay, click 1, and when I want to find it out, when I want to find out the number of value of the counter, what I'm going to do is counter clicks dot find dot fetch length. Okay, it refreshed. I click it 7 times, 8 times. Okay. Finally, this is the way to use collection. So the solution is, what I did is I am creating a collection which is actually a MongoDB collection, right? A MongoDB collection maintained on the server. Since this piece of code is executed by both server and client, in this case, this collection is being created on the server and getting accessed by the client. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating a collection which is counter collection, and whenever I click a button, I'm inserting an object, click equal to 1, or it could be any other object. It doesn't need to be click object. It could be like ID1, ID2, ID3, anything. All that we need to remember is I'm counting the number of objects in the collection rather than the clicks. I'm counting the number of objects. So if I click it 10 times, there should be 10 objects inside it, which is actually a wrong way of doing it. What I can do is I can insert one object and I can keep incrementing it. So, but in this case, I'm going with the simplest way because I want to demonstrate it in the simplest possible way. So what I am doing is I have a collection. You can think of it as an array, collection as an array. So inside an array, I'm creating objects, as many number of objects as the number of clicks. So, and when I am trying to access this counter method, what I'm doing is I am finding out the objects, and I need to do this fetch because find will return only what is called as a cursor. So you need to fetch the results to be able to actually access the objects. Once I get the objects, I'm doing a length. Length means the number of objects inside that collection or an array. So once I have the objects length, that means I must have pressed that number of times. Now what is the advantage of this? Suppose I start another instance. You can see it started with 21 because it already has 21 objects inside it created by so and so people, so and so whoever. Now I can extend it further with so many things here. What I can do is, instead of clicks, I'll show you the real value of this. Okay. I just say this. Okay. ID equal to input name equal to, let's say, username. Okay. Once I save this, you can see immediately that text box came here. That is another advantage with Meteor development. So it's automatically. Now what I want to do is I want to insert these names. So let's say I press some name here, user1, and then click this here. It should go into the user names, right? So what I want to do is I want to insert that information also inside it. For example, when I click this button, I want to get that value there, right? This is the user, this is the text. Okay. So what I want to do is click one by username equal to text. Okay. Variable text. So let's save it, and what I want to do now is I'm going to also show you user details here. Users function return counter clicks dot find all clicks. Click details. Okay, I call it as click details. Now what I want to do is h2 click details, and I want to print the list of guys who for each of the click details, right? This is the typical template syntax. This is the code actually. You see the braces there, that is the code, and this is the inbuilt template mechanism. For each of the click details, extract, so create a li. Li is the list object. Li, create li with this dot username. Here I'm inserting the username, right? So this dot username. Yeah, dollar, this is dollar obviously, and also okay. Now user 2, let's say user 3 and user 1. I click here, you can see it getting updated. Okay, so all that I did is created a collection, right? And then accessing that collection, whenever I am clicking a button, I am inserting the values inside the collection and accessing that. That's all, nothing strange or complex here. And on the HTML page, what I'm doing is I'm, for each of the objects that I want to, I'm enumerating them and printing them. That's all. So what I'm going to demonstrate is how to put data into the cloud. Okay, same data I just put it there, I'm just going to put it here instead. In the Meteor, by default, it will use your local MongoDB, started MongoDB, right? Local instance of MongoDB. It will connect to the local instance, which is like in the local directory, DB directory. Rather, I want to say, hey, don't connect to my local directory, but connect to the MongoLab directory. This is my so okay, let's run. Hopefully it connects to that server. Okay, started proxy, started the application. Earlier it said started proxy, started MongoDB, and then started the application. Right now it didn't start the MongoDB because it is connecting to the global version, that is like there, the cloud version. Okay. Okay, now I just refreshed these pages because I started the server fresh. Now you can see button is 0 because there are no objects, no collections. Now let me say user 1. Okay, and now let's go to this one here and see the collections on that. This is the MongoLab, and see the collections here. Refresh it. Theoretically, it should have that collection here. Okay, counter. You see this documents, counter document, and you can see this click 1 username 1. Why is that? Because I am inserting this here. Click 1 username. Okay, and let me add one more thing, like user 2, and it should, if I refresh it, it should come here. So click 1 user 2.